Hi guys, I'll be showing you how to stitch a 360 rig that isn't built by Teradek. With one sphere device, you can use up to 4 camera sources, while an additional sphere daisy chain will get you up to 8. The suggested process consists of about 4 steps that I'll go through in depth. So what I'm going to do is take some stills from a 3-camera 360 Designs rig, which we have saved into our iPad. So these lenses look a lot different than the ones that we use with the GoPros, but I'm going to do the same thing and just rotate all of them to the left. Then I'm going to set the order. We can see that this house is here, so let's just rotate over here. That looks about right. So here I actually do need to adjust the lens correction. So let's start by, we're actually going to cover the top and the bottom here. This rig covers all the top, so we're going to back off the top edge and back off the bottom edge. Now we're going to go to the lens correction. Adjust the zoom of these cameras so that we overlap the images. And this is actually doing a couple different things at once to account for the coverage of the lenses. So if I zoom in close here, it's not going to be perfect, but that's where my overlap is. And I have another overlap here, which I've centered up on the screen. And one more overlap here. So we'll adjust for that in a second. I'm just going to save this for now because it's pretty close for the zoom. After that, I need to adjust the distortion ratio, which you can do 2 ways. If you're looking at the panoramic view, probably the easiest way is to adjust it until your vertical lines become vertical. This is a little crooked here, the lamppost a little crooked, this line on the building in the background is a little crooked. It's a pretty slow adjustment, and it's sometimes difficult to see. So here it looks like it's bubbling out, and we're just gonna adjust it back to flat. Kind of helps if you go too far and then back, you can kind of see where it starts to look nice. And there's a little leeway in it. So that looks about right. The other way to do it, which works a little better if you have a lot of lines, is to point at the ceiling. You can actually adjust the distortion ratio here to sort of drag to where you get overlap and everything lining up between the sources. So now I'm going to adjust the cameras. Here, I'm going to adjust the translation a little bit more so that I can get a nice overlap. Here you're going to notice that the trash can and the top of the lamppost are never going to line up perfectly just because of the distortion of the lenses. So you can actually move, let's do number 2. So if I back the view out, this is source 2, source 3, and 1. So I'm looking at the left edge of source 2. So I'm going to move this left. So see, it doesn't matter how hard I try, I can't get those lampposts to line up. So what I can do is kind of put them on top of each other. The other thing you'll notice is if the lampposts line up, then this restaurant sign in the background won't line up. So there's no way to make both of those work together. So what you end up doing, I'm going to match the arch And let's just adjust that pitch down to get the sign to overlap. And then I'm actually going to blend out the left side of my image so that I just have the whole lamppost in it. So I could have a weird ghosty part of one lamppost, or I can simply have the whole part of another one. Here you'll notice that there is a little bit of an artifact, which I would go back later and tweak by just fine-tuning the lens correction, because this roof now sort of blends into the sky, but it doesn't look too bad. And I don't think I'd notice it, but I would notice a weird-looking lamppost. The next side of the image comes down. So looking at the center of the image where this with this gray shirt is, so now we're on source 3. He's going to move based on what part of the image. So if I get rid of the left side of my third, he disappears. If you also look at the planner, we get some of it with the third camera and some of it with the second, but not anywhere near lined up. So actually what I'm going to do is realize that I can't keep the planter from the second camera because that line follows all the way into my third camera. So we're just going to keep the whole planter. So it doesn't actually look the way that it would in real life, but if I get rid of it, I can't make the right side of this image line up with the left side of this, so we're going to have to keep it. And then I'm just going to pull that fade over a little bit and commit to having this guy in the one place. And as you can see with the floor, it's got enough texture on it that even now where you have that artifact that's centered on the beginning, it doesn't really draw your eye. If I look at the tree, it's pretty good because it's further away. Last but not least is this right image. We're going to start by just adjusting this pitch a little bit because that building is quite distracting. So I'm going to do this the same way as before. Let's save. Adjust 2. I got to be careful not to go too far so I don't mess up my other lines. So. Let's pull this up. And we're just going to adjust the edge. You can see as we go across. So what we'll do is we'll blend it there. You're also going to see at the rock here that I don't have very good coverage. Adjusting this edge is going to do the same as the planner. It's going to move the rock down or up. But I'm not too worried about that because it's not as distracting as this building in the background. And you'll see that in the panorama view. So here I've just adjusted the left edge start. And then I'm going to fade it across. So it looks pretty good. You now see that we have a full panorama that actually covers the top and bottom of my image. We have the same adjustments with this because it's a still image. What I would rather do is manually adjust the colors for the exposure, which would mainly consist of adjusting the mids in this image because it's a little dark. As you can see, the sun is right in the center of number 1, so we can just adjust that. And that looks pretty good. There you go. That's our suggested process to stitch a 360 rig in the S.r.l app.